the Targaryens marry kinfolk. Like, that's how they do. That's their culture. It's like when Asians take off their shoes before walking in the house, child. Like, this is just how their culture operates. They marry each other. So we end up seeing the council meeting, and I was like, hold on now, child. Is Rhaenyra no longer the waitress serving drinks? Is she on the council? Y'all, she was sitting in the chair on the council. What's up? It's Nikki. Welcome back to my channel, King Nikki TV, where I give you commentary on popular movies and TV shows. In this video, I will be recapping House of the Dragon episode 4. Now, at the top of the episode, we see Rhaenyra. She's on this tour of suitors. Now, when we first start the episode, she's touching that necklace that Damien gave her. And before the events of the episode, I think I said in my video for episode 1, there has been like this chemistry, sexual tension type of thing with Damien and Rhaenyra. Y'all, am I the only one who thought that's who she was gonna marry? Like, that is what I have had in my head, because they just have this thing between them. When she look at him, she be giving him the eyes, y'all. So she's on this tour of suitors, which at first I didn't know that's what was going on. She's in like this room with all these folk. She got, you know, Sir Christian next to her and another guy. And some old man is talking. He look older than Morgan Freeman. Like, but he's a suitor for her hand in marriage. So we go from the 100-year-old man. Then the next suitor is a kid who look like he about, I don't know, 9? Like, those are the suitors. There are no same age suitors in this day and age, I suppose. Now, the 6-year-old kid said that his name is Blackwood, right? Now, I don't know if I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I am so confused when it comes to Game of Thrones. I cannot remember all the 50, 1,100,000 folk houses, storylines, but then we hear from people called the Blackwoods on Game of Thrones. I'm trying to place that little boy. Didn't they have like a feud with another house that was like hundreds of years? I don't know, y'all. Who is the Blackwoods? I know them folk, but Rhaenyra is over it. She wants to leave and cut the tour short. And as they walking out, we hear a ruckus because as the little kid is, you know, presenting his case for marriage, he says how she can feel safe and protected with him, and folks is clowning him from the audience like, she got dragons, you idiot, she don't need your protection, and they just keep clowning the little boy. So we hear a ruckus going on. They start like about to sword fight, and I'm just like, Lord Jesus, they finna kill this little behind kid. Baby, when I tell y'all, no, the kid ain't get killed. The kid did the killing. He is the one who won the sword fight against the old man. I was like, girl, marry him. He can protect you. If it ain't space for the dragon to be up in a room, you will have the little 6-year-old knight, okay? That kid, he... Now, Rhaenyra is on the ship with Sir Christian and some others. She's on her way back to the castle when Damien on his dragon flies by. A child knocked their little ship. And I'm like, baby, y'all can't see? How is you knocking into folks' ships? Now, y'all, it was so many tension-filled moments in this episode. I got some gripes and disappointments, but I'll get into that later. But this episode was really good, and it was some great tension. It's just so many moments, not just because we're in the universe of Game of Thrones, and that's just unpredictable in and of itself, but there were so many moments where I felt like I was literally on the edge, and I was like, I don't even know what's gonna happen. Child, we in the throne room. Damien comes in. Ooh, look, y'all, Damien and his walk. I think I said something about his walk before. You know somebody got style when they got a good walk. Y'all, ooh, Damien walked in there. First of all, Rhaenyra was looking like, sexy Damien, daddy Damien. Like, she was giving him the eyes. And I was just like, okay, like, you never know what the heck is going on with Damien. And I actually got some really good insight when I watched Inside the Episode, which I'll get into Inside the Episode later, but I need to start watching that. It was really interesting. Now, everyone is gathered in the throne room. Damien come walking through, and y'all, he got this crown on his head, and I was like, wait a minute, is that a crown? Y'all, this had to be the most lackluster and shaky crown that I have ever seen in my life. This crown was down bad. It looked like the crown of thorns that was on Jesus' head. Like, was this crown made of wood? Did I see that wrong? Y'all, I did not like the crown. It looked, yeah, I ain't like it. But anyway, how you walking up to the king with a crown on your head? But y'all, it's Damon. So Damon comes in, and you know the way the throne room is, the closer you walk to the king, his knights or whatever, his king's guard gonna stop you like, hold on now there, bro. That's as close as you could get. And the guard has his sword up, and Damien walked right on it with the sword straight to his chest. Baby, let me tell you, everything Damien do is sexy. He walked right up to the freaking sword in his chest, and he has a knife. He tosses it down, and he's like, add this to your throne. Y'all know the throne with all the swords that keep stabbing Viserys, that's motherfucking killing him, because I swear they done put roots on Viserys. Now, of course, Viserys notices this crown of thorns that Damien is wearing. Is it Damon or Damien? I think it's Damon. I don't know why I keep calling him Damien. So he asks Damon, like, you wear a crown. Do you also call yourself a king? And Damien tells them, well, you know, after the battle, they crowned me king of the narrow sea. But I know there's only one true king, your grace. And he kneels, and he pretty much tells Viserys that his crown and the stepstones are his. And y'all, we see Hightower in the background lurking. I can't stand this nigga. I cannot stand Hightower. He just, I can't stand him. But I'm sitting here like, I ain't buying this. Like, I don't know. It's just something with Damien that I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's going on with you, bro. But Viserys asks where Lord Corlys is, the sea snake, and not Viserys. Damon tells him that he sailed home, and Viserys embraces his brother. They hug, the crowd cheers. But why do I get the feeling that if Viserys would have chopped his head off or gave him a hug, the crowd would have just cheered? Like, that was the vibe I was getting. Now, we get outside. We're in the garden. It's Rhaenyra, Alicent, Viserys, Daemon. There's still awkward tension between Alicent and Daemon. And y'all, something weird happened that, look, I'm going to have to be a flip-flopper, and I'm about to switch sides. I am no longer on the hate train for Alicent, okay? Like my mama say, I be up and down like a yo-yo. I'm switching. I am not against Alicent no more. They really they swayed me in this episode. But Alicent suggests something to Daemon for him to go see, right? Something that's new in the castle, and Daemon doesn't respond. He doesn't say anything, but Viserys laughs, and it feels like they was laughing at her. I guess like it's a dumb suggestion, because Viserys was like, he don't care about seeing that girl. And I just felt bad. I was like, I don't know, did I read that scene wrong? It made me feel bad, because I was like, why are you treating her like this? Like, this was just such a stupid suggestion, which, yeah, it probably was, but you ain't have to make her feel that way. Now, Rhaenyra walks off by herself. Alicent follows. And at this point, I'm annoyed. I'm like, baby, you ain't wanted. Why is you over here? But she starts talking about the tour suitors. Rhaenyra cut everything short and was kind of griping about it. And Alicent was telling her, oh, how awful it must be to have all these suitors falling all over you. And Rhaenyra is like, they're not falling all over me. All they want is my blood. So, you know, for their offspring. They're not really falling all over me. And Alicent tells her that most women in the realm are lucky if they even have one suitor. You got hundreds. And y'all know Rhaenyra be reading folk up and down all day, but she had an accidental read on Alicent when she ends up, because Alicent says how romantic, you know, this is. And Rhaenyra is like, oh, how romantic it must be to be held in the castle and just made to squeeze out airs. And baby, boop. Ooh, that is Alicent's life. And the way, y'all, the way this hit Alicent, the way her demeanor changed and her facial expression, you could tell also that Rhaenyra noticed this, like kind of the second it came out of her mouth. I felt so bad. Alicent has no friends. She has no life. But they end up bonding again and saying how they miss each other. And honestly, y'all, at this point, I was like, baby, don't make up with her. Let's keep the hate going. Now we end up seeing Rhaenyra and Daemon alone talking, and again, it's that energy. It's that I know the energy, okay? And at this point, I'm seriously thinking that's who she gonna marry. And you know what? Look, it ain't odd in the slightest that that's her uncle, because you have to look at it through the eyes of how they operate. The Targaryens marry kinfolk. Like, that's how they do. That's their culture. It's like when Asians take off their shoes before walking in the house, child. Like, this is just how their culture operates. They marry each other. So I seriously thought she was going to marry her uncle. That was my thinking as we were going along. Now, Rhaenyra goes into how Daemon seems to have changed by his adventures, and he tells her that she's matured herself in these last 4 years, and they just start having a conversation about marriage and about Daemon's wife. And baby, when I tell you, I said it before, but I need to see Daemon's wife, because the way he dogs this poor woman out, I'm just like, God dang. Because you know, it's not just women who kind of get the short end of the stick with marriage in these days. Marriage was not, oh, I love this person, let's get married. It was a contract. It was all about, advancing your house. So the women have to marry whoever they betrothed to, and so do the men. Like, they don't pick who they marry. So Damon just stuck with this girl, and I'm just like, child, I want to see this lady. That's all I know. Now, they go into how Daemon goes into how marriage is political, and Rhaenyra is saying for men maybe, but for women it's a death sentence. And she's pretty much going into how Rhaenyra don't want to get married, and he ends up they talk about his wife, and she says that the wife is lucky that he hasn't put a baby in her. And I'm just like, baby, the wife lucky because the nigga ain't never there, because he hate this lady. And he ends up saying something about a baby wouldn't survive in her womb or something. Like, I was just like, baby, why is you always I need to see this lady. Okay, and she better look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, because the way he just got such disgust for this lady, it hurt my heart, and I don't even know the girl. But like, god dang. But Rhaenyra goes into how her mother was made to produce heirs until it killed her, and that she will not subject herself to the same fate. And y'all, that hit me in my heart. It's like, god dang, but I don't know, y'all. I really thought they was going to get married. I thought they was going to get married. Now, we end up seeing the council meeting, and I was like, hold on, my child. Is Rhaenyra no longer the waitress serving drinks? Is she on the council? Y'all, she was sitting in the chair on the council. And I would have loved if they would have showed us how this went down, because y'all know the misogyny, it stands the test of time, baby. It's just all misogyny. And I'm wondering, because when I think back on Game of Thrones, I don't recall there ever being a woman on the council. Am I remembering wrong, y'all? I'm wondering what type of like ruckus or hoopla there was. Who suggested she get on the council? What was everyone's reaction to her being on the council? She ain't say nothing, which I'm with that. I wouldn't be talking either. I would be sitting back, peeping the game, trying to learn. I really wouldn't open my mouth. But I feel like it would have been so interesting to see how Rhaenyra got on this council and what that looked like with all these sexist ass old men. Now, at the council meeting, they're talking about how the stepstones were supposed to be won for the realm. But I got confused when they said that, because I'm like, hold on now, baby. Because the last episode, y'all were not even a part of that war. Y'all kept saying how that was Daemon and the Sea Snake war that they went into, and it ain't had nothing to do with the crown. But now y'all saying the stepstones supposed to be won for the realm. Y'all ain't want to be a part of that war. Y'all ain't want to send aid. Y'all was begged to send aid, which you did, but the aid wasn't accepted or taken. So how was the stepstones supposed to be won for the realm? Y'all, what am I missing? But they go into how the stepstones were supposed to be won for the realm, but that in the last few days, it seems that they have traded the crab feeder for the sea snake. And they also go into how they feel like this is all spite for Viserys choosing Lady Alicent over Lady Laena. Lady Laena, that's too. Why do they have to put an L in front of that lady name? Lady Laena that's too much. Now, Viserys is saying how that was years ago, and that the sea snake could not possibly still be upset about that. And they go into how the sea snake is a proud man and his pride has been bruised. And y'all, that's seems to be the running trend whenever they talk about the sea snake, Lord Corliss. They keep consistently talking about how he's such a proud man. And I'm like, why do they keep going into his pride, as if it's ego or something like that, or higher than it should be. I don't know, but I just keep peeping how every single time they talk about the sea snake, they go into his pride, like it's a monster or something. And I'm disappointed with this episode and everything that basically how the story is transpiring, because I really don't like no characters except Damon, Rhaenys, and the sea snake. And I pretty much really just like the sea snake and Rhaenys because of what I feel they're going to bring to the story and where I feel their story is going to go. We ain't really get the sea snake really. I mean, we got a little glimpse of them in the last episode, but we haven't really gotten them in the story, and that's kind of irking me. Like, I want to see them. I mean, I like the character of Rhaenyra, but I really don't care for the actress. She's not giving it to me. She's not giving me that oomph that I need. I don't know. I hope that when they do the big time jump and the actress changes, that I'll feel differently. But there are no characters that I'm just like hype about. You know how you have just your fave characters, as most people do when they watch TV shows? I really have nobody but Damon. Like, that's the only person who be on the screen consistently that I'd be excited to see. So I wish they would show us more Rhaenys and the sea snake, but maybe with this marriage they're going to, which I'm jumping ahead. So they end up going into talking about Lord Corliss and everything that's going on, right? And how his pride has been bruised, and perhaps they can do something to satiate that bruise, when suddenly Hightower jumps in, interrupting, talking about how his brother has brought disturbing. He tripped me out. He know how to sell something, child. Let me tell you that. He said his brother has sent disturbing word that Lord Corliss has started to engage in negotiations with the Sea Lord. I was like, the Sea Snake, the Sea Lord? Baby, can y'all show us these? I want to see the Sea Snake and the Sea Lord. I like those names. They just sound like I need to be expecting something major from folks with names like that. But I was annoyed. Like, can y'all show us the negotiations? Can you show us the Sea Snake and the the Lord of the Sea? No, the Sea Lord, my bad, not the Lord of the Sea. Like, can y'all show us these people and show us all this stuff happening? Like, what are the talks that are going on with Rhaenys and the Sea Snake when it comes to this marriage? Like, I wish we could have seen all of that stuff play out. Baby, y'all could have gave us a longer episode. I wouldn't have complained. But he goes into Hightower goes into how Lord Corliss is engaged in these negotiations with the Sea Lord of Braavos, and he plans to marry his daughter to the Sea Lord's son, and that if the Sea Snake is able to create this alliance with the free cities, that they would need to create their own marriage pact. And baby, let me tell you, Rhaenyra was sitting there like, cause baby, they talking about you, okay? I thought that was so crazy. Like, yeah, girl, I would have been sitting there like, now, they end up showing us, and when I tell y'all, look, they end up showing us Alicent, and baby, they was showing Alicent in the most sympathetic light this episode. They was killing me, child, but they got it. They got me, okay? They got to me. Now, Alicent, we see her holding a crying baby, looking out the window. She don't look very happy. Now, we have had a time jump. I forgot to address that. It's been about 6 years since everything transpired. It's been 4 years since the whole Rhaenyra getting that dragon egg from Daemon. They mentioned this in the episode. It's been 1 year since last week's episode. They mentioned that Aegon, remember the firstborn son, we had his second name day, his second birthday last episode. They mentioned that he is now 3, so it has been a 1 year time jump between last episode and this episode. Now, I will admit, Game of Thrones was confusing for me, having to follow so many different people, especially when you don't see them for a few episodes, and I gotta try to remember who they was, what they did, what went down. This show is not the same. We pretty much are following the same characters and storylines. However, the time jumps can start to get confusing. Now, we see Allison holding the crying baby. This was the baby, last episode she was about to pop. She looking out the window. She don't look happy. And I was sitting here like, y'all, I thought Allison was about to jump out the motherfucking window. Remember who was the punk ass son that Cersei had that dived out the window? That's what I thought Allison was finna do. But, and the way... the effect they put on the crying baby, that cry sounded like postpartum. Like, how if you're going through postpartum and you going through like your mind ain't right and you may be in a depression, like it's like a mental health situation. That's how that crying sounded. That crying sounded like it made you want to jump out the window. Like that crying had like this echo. It was like echoing in from ear to the other ear and all through your head. I don't know. That crying was too much. I was like, why did y'all put that effect on the baby crying? But now we end up seeing Rhaenyra in her room. And she finds this bag of clothes with a note. And I was like, what is this? These look like commoner clothes. Like, what is going on? And the note has instructions for this that leads her to the secret passageway that takes her out of the castle, y'all. And we see Daemon, baby, Daddy Daemon, out there waiting for her. They outside the castle. And baby, y'all, this is where the ish goes crazy. Now, y'all, let me tell you, Westeros after dark is like Las Vegas. Like, wait a minute, you know what? I don't even think Vegas is this lit. Baby, they walking through the streets, baby, somebody having sex in the streets. I was like, okay, y'all ain't got nowhere to go. Like, baby, y'all can't go nowhere but the alleyway. But they're hanging out in the city beyond the palace walls. And they end up coming across this play that's going on, and it's about everything that's going on in the castle, about Rhaenyra being named heir. Everybody in the crowd boos. Then they talk about Aegon, and Rhaenyra is pretty much telling Daemon she don't care what these people got to say or what they think about her being queen. And he's like, well, if you want to rule over these people, then you should care. Now, before they really get to the nitty-gritty of that story, we end up seeing Viserys in a bath. Y'all, Viserys is looking so disgusted and so sickly. Somebody put roots on Viserys. I'm telling you, that is going to be revealed. Somebody got roots on that man. Now, it's like 5 people in there with him, child. I thought they just run your water. I guess they bathe you too. But Allison ends up sending them out. And I guess it's something going on with his little nasty sores he got. And they need to clean his wounds, I suppose, because he ends up telling Allison that she has a softer touch than the servants, I guess. But baby, I would be so disgusted. Like, I'm supposed to be making babies with this thing? Like, ugh. Y'all know, look, y'all ever saw that movie Thinner, but with Stephen King? Where the gypsy man ends up putting roots on folk, and he's like, Thinner, lizard. And the guy turned into like a human lizard. His skin starts scaling up. Baby, that is how... that is how Viserys' skin is looking, child. Now, I will say that I am just not a fan of sex scenes in movies at all. Like, I can do without it, I can do without it, I can do without it. Now, the sex scenes in Game of Thrones, which I think, if I remember correctly, it was a big gripe that folk had. It was like, the later seasons weren't as bad, but the earlier seasons, that ish was like, I was like, baby, I logged into HBO Max, not Pornhub. Like, the ish was wild in the early days of Game of Thrones. And I will say, I have felt like the sex scenes on House of Dragon, it comes across so differently than the sex scenes on Game of Thrones. And they don't bother me in House of Thrones, which is very rare for me because I'm typically just always bothered by sex scenes and movies and stuff. Child, when y'all had me watch Euphoria, I was like, Lord Jesus, I can't. Like, keep me near the cross, Lord. Like, y'all, I can't. It's like the sex scenes just always were so gratuitous. I don't know, just like there was the sex scenes in House of Dragons, it comes across way more, there's an emotion to it. It feels like there's a thought behind it. It feels like it is emitting something to us that we're supposed to be getting for the characters, for the story, for their circumstances. It never felt like that on Game of Thrones to me. Even if the sex on Game of Thrones was consensual, the shit was still like, it just felt violent. So it was really interesting to me when they got inside the episode that it was a female director, and I was like, I knew it. I knew it because the ish is coming across so differently, and it's not as, I wish I knew the words, but it's like, it's just not as gratuitous and just like violent and in your face. Like, it just feels like way more artistic. The sex scenes in this did not bother me in the slightest. Even with, okay, so we see Allison, she's in her room in bed, and I was right. The queen and the king sleep in two different rooms. I guess he just summons her when he wants to coupling. That was a word I learned this episode. You know what is funny to me? I'm finna get sidetracked, but the language, okay, that they use, it's not modern language. But the profanity is, like, I guess the word, the F word and the whore just stands the test of time. Like, they be dropping all the whores and the F-bombs, but then they say stuff like coupling. And I'm just like, okay, so modern language has changed, but not the profane words. But anyway, Allison is in bed when a servant comes in to say that the king has summoned her, and this trigger Allison talking about, well, it's quite late, and if I'm the servant, well, bitch, go tell the king it's late, because I ain't summoning you. He is. I thought that was crazy. She gonna tell the servant it's quite late, my lady. Baby, yes, it's late. Well, she a servant, she might not be a lady, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Now, she ends up, y'all, going to the king's chambers, and they have sex, and we get a sex scene. And y'all, even though Allison is obviously, like, she laying there like a dead body. And I'm just like, Viserys, baby, you don't know that the woman shouldn't be laying there like that? Like, baby, she dead. Like, y'all, she just, and that's why I say, like, I jumped off the hate train for Allison. She literally, and this is why I appreciate them having a female director and just putting just a much better touch on the sex scenes that they display. Because even though this, I want to say, feels like it's not consensual, it was still not gratuitous to me. There was still an important part of the story and part of Allison and her character that we are getting. And Viserys as well. Y'all, they show a POV from like above Viserys. He's on top of Allison, and y'all, baby, he got them nasty sores on him, and I would have threw up in his face. Like, I would have threw up in his face. Like, baby, you got open wounds. I'm not trying to couple with you. Like, y'all, it was, and all I could think was, because y'all know he lost 3 fingers, and I'm just like, was he touching her body with his 2-finger hand? Like, did he try to cup her breast with the missing 3-finger hand? Y'all, it was disgusting. I felt so bad for Allison. She was laying there dead. And it's a scene later when Damon talk about how him and Viserys used to be running through the pleasure houses when they was young. And I'm just like, baby, was the women laying there like this? Like, you don't know that your wife is like, y'all, it was crazy. Now, what was really interesting is, while this scene is happening, we have Damon, and you know, he's out in the city with Rhaenyra. She's in this disguise. Her hair is covered with like this knit. She's dressed like a commoner. She looks like a boy. You cannot see her hair. And Damon takes her to a pleasure house. But I was tripping at first because he ends up taking her disguise off. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, folks can see who she is. I'm pretty sure y'all hair is a signature of y'all house. Like, why would you do that? And you can see like the women in the pleasure house. I feel like they was looking at her like, oh, that's the princess. Like, and I was like, what's going on? Now I gotta tell y'all, they got me. I was naive. I was under Damon's spell. And this show is called House of the Dragon. But I lost sight of the fact that this is still about the Game of the Throne. It's still Game of Thrones. It is still about the politics. And I lost sight of that because I really thought that Damon really like had like a romantic love for Rhaenyra. I really thought that they was gonna get married. I lost sight. I was under the spell. So they get to the pleasure house, and I will say, even the sex scenes in the pleasure house did not bother me. Like, this is supposed to be like a brothel. You would think it would be like just the most raunchy, gratuitous scene, but it really wasn't. Like I said, for me, it just felt like there was a much more tender touch to the sex scenes. It felt way more artistic. It didn't feel as raunchy and gratuitous and violent. I love how they have had these silent scenes where the actors aren't even really talking, and we just get so much that is emitting to us from the scene. Rhaenyra and Daemon really aren't talking as they're walking through the pleasure house, but you still just get so much from how they're walking through, their facial expressions, how Daemon is looking at her. And Rhaenyra asks him, like, what is this place? And he tells her, this is where people come to get what they want. And he goes into, because remember they had the conversation earlier about marriage, and Rhaenyra is really not down for marriage. So he pretty much comes in here to the pleasure house, to teach the girl about marriage. That's it. It's just all innocent. He's just trying to teach her about marriage. But he goes into telling her that sex is supposed to be pleasurable for the man and the woman, and that marriage is a duty. And I thought this was really interesting how they did this, because as we see Alicent with Viserys, we have a voiceover of Daemon saying marriage is a duty. And I thought that was just so good how they did that, and the contrast between Rhaenyra and her, not her first sexual experience, because she didn't have sex, but her first foray into sex and pleasure, versus Alicent's first foray into sex and no pleasure. Because obviously in these days, the misogyny ran deep, and you had to remain a maiden. So obviously Alicent was a virgin when she got married. So they end up, the pleasure house, the female director, I feel like this was a good direction for them to take, because personally I could not stand. Who was it that owned one of the pleasure houses in Game of Thrones? And every time we had to see him, we saw all kind of, I was like, child, I'm sick of seeing this. I did not like that. And I was when it came to House of Thrones, I was like, child, I'm not looking forward to all these crazy sex scenes. But they gave us equal opportunity sex scenes, okay? They had the penis, they had the breast, and they had gay sex, which normally the only acceptable gay sex is a woman and a woman. But they had a man and a man, and I really appreciated the thought that they took in the sex scenes so far in House of the Dragon. Now, Rhaenyra and Daemon end up kissing. He pulls off her pants. They finna get into it, child. And he ends up he stops kissing her, right? But she keeps trying to kiss him. He's backing away. And at first, as I'm watching the scene, I'm like, well, what's going on? Then I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's just teasing. That's just his thing. He gonna lean back a little bit. He gonna tease a bit. But y'all, it was something in his facial expression that honestly, I did not get from the scene what we was supposed to get until I got the inside episode, which I'll get into that later. But as I'm watching the scene, I'm really thinking, oh, he's struggling. He really has a romantic love for her, and maybe he don't want to do this here. This was my, when I tell y'all I was in the throes of Daemon's spell, I was calling Rhaenyra up like he's a good man, Savannah. I was all about Team Daemon. He ends up getting frustrated, mad, angry. He hits the wall and he just walks away from her. And she doesn't know what just happened. She calls after him, but he leaves, and she follows behind him. And we see this little boy who sees Alicent, because remember, not Alicent, he sees Rhaenyra, because remember, Daemon took her disguise off. You can clearly see who she is. And I'm just like, what is with this little boy? Y'all. We end up seeing the little boy who followed Rhaenyra go to Hightower. Baby, what happened in the pleasure house can't stay in the pleasure house. This nigga is a snake, and I should have known. He has spies everywhere. Y'all, I cannot stand Hightower. He is such a snake. But like I said in my last video, I have prepared myself because I know how things happen in the Game of Thrones universe. It felt like the goddamn Lannisters and Cersei just continue to win. Evil prevails in the universe of Game of Thrones. So I have fully prepared myself for the fact that Hightower is going to prevail and get exactly what he wants. So we already know the spy done came to him about Rhaenyra and what is about to go down with that. But before all that goes down, now Rhaenyra gets back to the palace, and when she went in her room to go to bed, Sir Christian was outside of her door. He said goodnight to her. Next thing he know, because he think baby in the room sleeping and he just on guard, Rhaenyra come running into the room and he like, girl, wait, you just in the room? How you coming? He like, are you okay, princess? Are you hurt? I need to go get the king. And she's like, no. So she ends up kind of getting his helmet, teasing him, playing with him, messing with him, getting him into her room. She closes the door. And since Damon done got her all hot and bothered and riled up and just ran off, baby, she had the two finest men on the show in one night. So now, remember, Sir Christian has taken a vow. He can't get married. He has a vow of celibacy because he is the king's guard. But, baby, it's the princess. And they have already had, like, this chemistry, flirtation. Like, they have a good little rapport and relationship. And they end up having sex. But, y'all, let me tell you. They had to take off like 50 layers of clothing off of Sir Christian. And I was so annoyed. Like, baby, it took them, I don't know, child, 30 minutes to undress him. And then they shoes had like 1,000 laces on it. I'm like, baby, this taking too long. I'd have been over it by now. Like, yo, this is too much. Now, we end up seeing Damon with his side chick, and y'all, I can't with this lady accent. Like, is it just me? Is it just me? Her accent is so annoying to me. Now, he says, am I your prisoner? He's hungover, y'all, and she's telling him as she once was his prisoner. So I'm like, okay, so y'all not together no more? I guess everything fell apart after he stole that dragon egg. And it comes to find out she's no longer working in the pleasure house. She's not in that business anymore. And she tells him he's lucky because she's here to protect him. She tries to give him some concoction, which I think is supposed to be for the hangover. And he tells her, I don't need protection from a common whore. And she says, I'm not so common. And Damon is like, okay, so an uncommon whore. You know what? No matter what Damon do, I just like him. I just really like his character. So we end up now, I got no love for Hightower. I am still on the Hightower hate train. I'm no longer on the Allison train, but Hightower is a weasel. He's a snake. But they end up showing him, and it looks as though he's like struggling with the situation and the information and telling the king this info. But y'all, I don't buy it. I feel like he was like a kid on Christmas getting this information. He was giddy. He was happy, hype. Because this plays into what he wants the end game to be. But it did look like he had like a pained look on his face. And he goes to Viserys. And y'all, another tension-filled episode. But I gotta say, I was so disappointed with this episode. But, okay. Hightower goes to Viserys. He tells him that he has this comforting news that concerns the princess. And Viserys is like, well, has she been harmed? Like, what's going on? And Hightower tells him, and he's beating around the bush. It's like he's pausing. He's not really saying what's up. He says it's no easy thing to tell a father of his daughter's exploits and how he has considered saying nothing. I'm just like, nigga, you a weasel. You a rat. It ain't no way you've considered saying nothing. It ain't no way that Hightower, look, it's no way between the old guys or the new that Hightower really considered not saying nothing. Get out of here. So Viserys is just like, okay, what has she done? Like, what's going on? It's taken Hightower forever to freaking say what's going on. And he does look like he has a pained look on his face. But y'all, I was not buying it. We all know Hightower's agenda. And we all know he's a weasel. So he ends up saying the princess was seen in a pleasure house. She was carrying on with her uncle, and they were engaged in behaviors unbecoming a maiden, unbecoming a princess. And Viserys is still like, okay, what behaviors? Like, say it. And when I tell you, baby, I was watching like, oh shoot, is the fire finna come out finally? Now, Viserys seemed like he had no patience for this conversation, y'all. And I felt like, as I was watching, it felt like he was kind of baiting Hightower to just say the exact words of what was going on, just to like cut out his tongue or cut his throat. Because we saw in the preview, excuse me, we saw in the preview for the episode that we see Viserys saying like, bring the gossip monger to me, I'll cut out his eyes. So I'm saying, like, well, baby, is it Hightower? Is that who finna get his eyes or tongue cut out? Because it really felt like Viserys was kind of baiting him, like, say the exact words, like, say it. Like, don't beat around the bush. And Hightower was like, well, must I say it, your grace? And Viserys is like, look, bro, you enter my bedchambers, accusing my daughter of something, now speak it plainly. And y'all, I'm just not buying what Hightower is selling. He tries to make it seem like, oh, he doesn't want to bring this in front of the council. He's trying to just keep this on the low, and he's trying to have discretion, and it pains him to say this. But as I'm watching, I'm just like, man, this is all part of your game. This is all part of your game, because you would have shouted this from the mountaintops if you knew that that was the right move. He does stuff very strategically. So I don't really buy none of this. But he ends up finally saying Daemon and Rhaenyra were seen together in the bowels of a pleasure den. And Viserys is still looking like, okay, and what? Say it. And he finally says they were seen together in the bowels of a pleasure den coupling. And we also see that Alicent is back there eavesdropping on the conversation. And Viserys, of course, is upset. He says that this is a lie, you were lied to. And Hightower was like, oh, I only wish this were true. Hightower, I peep you, bro. Now, I didn't understand this part, because Viserys is like, who is responsible for this gossip? Have this rumor monger brought to me. I will take out his eyes. And y'all, Hightower says, oh, I must maintain trusted sources. And I'm saying, like, baby, I'm the king. If I tell you to tell me who said it, tell me who said it. I didn't like that. Like, he shouldn't have been able to skate on, I must maintain trusted sources. Now, Hightower also goes into saying how several of the servants have also admitted to seeing Rhaenyra during the hour of the hour. And y'all, when I tell you I got so hyped, because I thought the ish was finna hit the fan. I thought Viserys was finally opening his eyes. He says to Hightower, are you so sick with ambition that you would have my daughter spied on, waiting for your best chance to destroy her reputation? Because that is exactly what I was thinking when that little boy went to him. How does little boy know Hightower? How he know to go run and tell Hightower anything? You obviously have had to have certain stuff in place for this information to have even come to you. And I was wondering if Viserys was going to peep that. So when he did and talked about talked about Hightower being sick with ambition, y'all got hyped. Because y'all know I want Hightower out of there. And I was like, oh, shoot, and that's why I will say I was disappointed with this episode, even though I know it is its own separate thing and I cannot compare it to Game of Thrones. But I feel like we haven't had like the Game of Thrones, like violence and death and like the shocking death. I thought they was finna Ned Stark Hightower, because I was like, finally they finna kill this nigga. I know that Viserys is about to start breathing fire and show the true dragon. So Hightower ends up saying, I have no such intent, your grace. So y'all, Viserys is like, you think you cunning. And I was just like, so you peep it? Viserys, you peep this too? Viserys is like, you think you cunning. And I'm like, oh shoot, is it time to pay the piper? Is the debt coming due? Viserys is like, do you wish to have your blood on the Iron Throne so badly that you would destroy mine? And he tell him to just get out, like just leave. And I gotta tell y'all, I was disappointed. I was disappointed. And we have had no, like, I get it, this is not Game of Thrones, but I guess I was looking for something brutal. I was looking for Hightower to get killed. I was sitting watching, like, send him to the gallows, chop his head off, see, this is how I would have wrote it. Remember in Game of Thrones, when Cersei had her comeuppance with the shame, but then everything came back around and she got her get back. Remember the lady with the dark hair? I can't think of what it was called, but Cersei locks her in the dungeon with her dead daughter. Baby, let me tell you what I would have did. Oh, Hightower, you got your little ambition. You been sitting around here playing me. You think your bloodline finna be on the throne? Let me tell you what I'm gonna do with your bloodline. You think you was slick sending Alicent scurrying into my chambers? Let me tell you what I do with Rex. I would have put him in the dungeon next to his dead 2 grandbabies and next to dead Alicent, and I would let him starve to death with them just like Cersei did. I'm sorry, I know that's evil. I know them babies is innocent, but look, that's what I would have did. That's the Game of Thrones way, if you ask me. You gotta be ruthless. I was disappointed. I got hyped because I was like, yo, Viserys has been getting played, in my opinion. Baby, by the council, by everybody. Like, everybody know that they could just look. I really thought that this was it. This was coming to a head. Hightower is found out. Viserys see through him, the ambition, the sneakiness, the snake. But then when he just like, get out, I was like, that's it? You just telling the nigga to get out? And you told him to get out and he just sat there. You had to say it again. You had to be like, leave me. And he still kind of stood there for a second. Baby, I'm the king. When I give a word, you supposed to move. I don't know. At this point in the episode, I was let down with everything that was transpiring with Hightower. I just can't stand that nigga. And I want him to get his comeuppance. But I already said that I'm prepared because I know the frustration I went through on Game of Thrones when no matter what happened, Cersei just seemed to keep winning. The Lannisters seemed to keep winning. Evil always seemed to win. So I am already prepared when I came into House of the Dragon for the evil to prevail. So I wasn't even that like upset about Hightower particularly. I was more let down because it felt like, okay, we finna finally get some ish going. And he just said, get out. Now, we end up seeing Sir Christian going to Rhaenyra's room, telling her he got, a message from the queen, a message from Alicent. And he was all awkward in the doorway, like he didn't know what to do, how to move, how to talk. Baby, act normal, act natural, you gonna get us killed. Now, I gotta say, I didn't understand this scene, and Alicent got on my nerve. Alicent and Rhaenyra meet up outside, and the first thing, Alicent act like she angry, and the first thing she says, what happened last night? And I was kind of like, hold on, baby, bad. Like, we the same age. You is only my stepmom in title only, okay? Don't ask me about my business, naive. I didn't understand why Alicent was so worked up and angry in this scene. Now, I did get more insight and understanding when they did the inside episode, but as I was watching, I was like, hold on, baby, it ain't your vagina. Like, calm down, girl. Why is you so mad? Like, she really seemed upset, disappointed, and I didn't get it. So she tells Rhaenyra that her father has made some worrying allegations about her, and she tells her he pretty much said you effed your uncle. And Rhaenyra is like, that's a vile accusation, and I'm the princess, and to question my virtue is an act of treason. And child, I'm telling you, baby, Rhaenyra put it on. She said, Alicent, sister, you're great. She threw all the words in there. Like, she threw all the words in there to tug at Alicent little heartstrings, child. She was pretty much telling her, like, who made these claims to your father? Who told him this? And Alicent is pretty much like, she couldn't really say, like, the dad didn't tell her. She just pretty much overheard it. So Rhaenyra asks her, like, so you accusing me of something you overheard? Y'all, this scene was crazy. Alicent act like this was her daughter. Like, she was disappointed and upset and just couldn't believe this. And Rhaenyra ends up telling her about the evening, right? And she tells her that yes, she was out, she hadn't seen her uncle, they was hanging out outside the palace, they was having drinks. She wanted to go home because it was late, but Damien wanted to continue the night. He was her escort, so she went with him. She was at the pleasure house, but they didn't do nothing go down, and she was just a spectator. And baby pulled out her dead mama. Let me tell you, that virtue must be important in these times, because baby threw out the dead mama. You know the issue is serious when you throwing out the dead mama. She said on her dead, what was her exact words? I swear this upon the memory of my mother that Damien never touched her. Now, we could be particular with wording, because Damien did touch her, but she ain't lie. They did not have sex. She still had her virtue when she left that pleasure house. That is not a lie. And see, it's crazy in situations like this when you could lie, but you telling the truth, because baby ain't got her virtue, but they asking her about the pleasure house and Damien, so baby did have her virtue, so that is not a lie. So dead mama don't have to go tossing in her grave. She was cremated, but you know what I mean. So Allison is pretty much like, your father has tried to find you a good match, and so have I, and what Lord would want you now that you have been sullied. That tripped me out. So they could say the F word, but then we saying sullied. You see what I mean? It's like they got the modern curse words, but then we got the old time language. It's just crazy. You've been sullied, okay? And I thought this was weird too. Allison said, you have been sullied. What Lord will want you? You've ruined everything. What do you mean she's ruined everything? And I kind of was thinking, Allison know that her dad wants Aegon on the throne. He told her to convince Viserys to make him the heir instead of instead of Rhaenyra. And so when she said you've ruined everything, and she was out there in such a huff, I was thrown off like, wait, why is you so mad? But then when she said you've ruined everything, I was like, ruined everything? I'm thinking, is Allison in her head, because she can't go against her father. Her father said go to the chamber, she go to the chamber. So her father said tell him to make Aegon the king, she gonna do her daddy say. But I'm wondering if in her mind she is really backing Allison. I keep switching up their names, child. Allison, Rhaenyra. I keep messing up their names. I'm wondering if she's really backing Rhaenyra as heir, and when she said you've ruined everything, is that because without her virtue she can't get with the Lord, even though baby my daddy is the king, but she can't get with the Lord and have heirs and strengthen her claim? I was like, what does she mean you've ruined everything? So we see Damien strolling over to the castle, hung over. He's immediately snatched up by the guard, saying, the king wants you. Let me tell you, baby. Damien go Damien. They snatched him up. He hung over, messed up, could barely stand. And he talking about something, get your hands off me. I'm just like, Damien go Damien. I like him. I really like Damien. Now, Damien laying on the floor, child. They're in the throne room, and Viserys comes in. He's like, my daughter, won't you even deny it? And when you think about it, Damien really don't deny nothing. He don't confirm or deny, but he kind of be confirming because he don't deny. Because he didn't deny saying the whole heir for a day or something like that. He just said everyone grieves in their own way. But he never said I said it or I didn't say it. And when Viserys came in talking about my daughter and this stuff, he didn't say I did it, and he didn't say I didn't do it. But y'all, this scene was crazy because he landed on the floor, child. He shot. He out. And Viserys is like, you defiled her, and he kicks Damien. And he's like, what Lord will wed her now in this condition? And I gotta tell y'all, as I was watching, I was confused because I'm like, baby, you the king and she the heir, she the princess. Even if she wasn't the heir, you the king and she the princess. You mean to tell me everybody gonna shun her? They not gonna take the chance to marry into the highest family in the realm because she was sullied? And I'm saying like, baby, you the king. If it was me, I'ma kill whoever the messenger was. I'ma kill Hightower, and that's gonna put all that noise to rest. And I'm thinking about the fact that if It shouldn't matter what anybody say when you're the king. It's like in that movie, The Prince of Egypt, when he was like, I'm the Pharaoh, I'm the moon and the day, and whatever I say, my word is law. Like, you're the king. If you say she got her virtue, baby, she got her virtue. If you say this is sick gossip, it's sick. Like, who cares what anybody is gossiping or saying if you the king? But when he says to Damien, what Lord will wear her now in this condition? And Damien's like, who cares what some Lord says when you the dragon? And I was saying, like, baby, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, you are the king. You're the highest in the realm. If you say it's so, it's so. Even though they're going to be gossiping in the streets and putting on their little plays, look. So, Damien is telling him, like, who cares what some Lord say? You the dragon. And Viserys is like, your heart blacker than I thought. Y'all, now I said I was under Damien's spell, and I really thought he loved the girl, but it all came to like, Damien tells Viserys, wed her to me. I want Rhaenyra. And I'm like, it's just the way the scene played out, the way Damien was going. I'm just like, you used that girl. You did this on purpose. Because, and I'm thinking about when he pulled off her disguise. And I know y'all could have got a secret room up in that pleasure house. Why was y'all out in front of everybody? He did this on purpose. He wanted the reputation to be sullied so that he could be like, well, since you say nobody else gonna take her hand, I'll do it. Because if she the heir and I marry her, Damien gets what he wants, which is the throne. And Viserys, it hits him too. Like, he was like, it's not my daughter you lust after, it's my throne. And I'm just like, Damien is like, we can marry, give her to me, we'll return the dragon to... Y'all, he said something about him being on the throne and returning all the power to the dragon. And I'm just like, babe, you know what? You slick. And you a snake just like Hightower. You just got some more style than Hightower. But both of y'all is snakes, and it's just all about y'all. See, and this is why I was saying I got caught up in the fact that this is House of the Dragon. But it is still a game of the throne. It is still about the politics of the throne. And I got lost. I got lost in the swagger of Damien. I was running through the streets of Westeros in Sin City thinking he was in love with the girl. So yet again, Viserys banishes Damien. Y'all, I love Damien still. Like, that's my fave. I don't care what he do, what his motives is. That's my fave. Now, we see Alicent and Viserys. And she asks Viserys, has he spoken to Rhaenyra? And he says no. And Alicent believes Rhaenyra, and she says that to Viserys. She tells him that it is not in Rhaenyra's nature to be deceitful, but she can't say the same about his brother. And Viserys, and I'm thinking he was smartening up, but he still ain't. But he says to her, well, what does Daemon have to gain by confessing to this? And what he has to gain? Alicent is like, you, making you look crazy. This is a reflection on you. And I'm just like, he wanted the throne or to just mess up what y'all got going on. Like, obviously, he been jealous and after this from the beginning. What do you mean? What does he have to gain? I thought baby was getting smart, but he's still just a dumb little goose. So, y'all, it was so many moments in this episode when I was scared, like, what's finna go down? But it didn't really go down. Rhaenyra is walking through the hall with two guards, Sir Christian on one side, and I was scared. I was like, baby, is they finna do a maiden check? Do they got some kind of medieval gynecologist that's finna check that her virtue is intact? Are they finna banish her? Are they finna behead her, throw her in a dungeon? It was so somber when she was walking down there. Then when she paused before walking into the room, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Because I just know the world of Game of Thrones, people be getting killed and all kind of stuff be going down. It be craziness. So all this episode, I just kept thinking, something crazy finna happen. Something crazy finna happen. Nothing crazy didn't happen though, child. But mainly I said nothing crazy happened because I want Hightower to die and he ain't dying, you know. I wanted them to Ned Stark him. So Viserys and Rhaenyra is together, and he has the dagger of Aegon, and he has it in the fire, and it shows this writing that says, "From my blood, comes the prince that was promised, and his will be the song of fire and ice. And he speaks again to Rhaenyra about the responsibility that he has given her that is bigger than the throne. Remember him telling her about the Night King and all of that, and how this is bigger than the throne, it's bigger than Rhaenyra, and it's bigger than her desires. And she's telling him, he tells her that, I think he said Jaharis would have disowned her or banished her. And she's like, so you would do that off of a lie, off of gossip, because it's not true. And he tells her, truth don't matter. It's about the perception. And Rhaenyra tells him that if she was born a man, she could bear whoever she wanted, father a dozen bastards, and no one in his court would blink an eye. And he pretty much like, yeah, you're right. But you weren't born a man, you was born a woman. Child, the misogyny runs deep. So she tells him, you gonna strip me of my title and name Aegon instead, right? And he says that he not gonna do that because he must hold the realm together. And he tell her, look, your hot girl summer is over. It has ended. You will wed Sir Laenor Valerian, the sea snake's son, and you will do so without protest. So she's like, oh, so I gotta be the remedy to your political headaches. And he like, bitch, you is my political headaches. So she's marrying her cousin. He wants to unite the two most powerful houses in the realm and put their dragons with the Valyrian dragons, because you know they're half Targaryen, and their naval fleet of ships, and how they will be so powerful that no one will question them. And this is when I got hype again about Hightower finally getting his comeuppance and getting that Game of Thrones in. We ain't had no big kill or no big shock that I was kind of expecting, but I be having to tell myself it's not Game of Thrones, don't compare it. But I thought we was finally finna get like a big death, great scene when it came to Hightower, because Rhaenyra says, okay, well, what about the vulture who perches on your throne? And y'all, Viserys, still dumb as a doorknob, ain't got the sense God gave a duck. It's like, what vulture? But then again, I guess it's so many, he didn't know which one she was talking about. And she says, your hand. And he ends up telling her that Otto Hightower has served two kings loyally. And she ends up telling him, no, Hightower wants Aegon to be the heir, and he's not going to stop at anything until it happens, including spying on me. And she says that he is self-interested. And this is when Viserys says, and he made a good point, that anyone who wants an audience with him, everyone on the council, past or present, is about their self-interest. And she tells him that she will do her duty as heir and wed Sir Laenor, but that he must first do his duty as king. And this is when I got hype again. Viserys and Hightower was like, this it. The nigga finna die. He finna get his head chopped off. Something crazy is finna go down. We finna get a big death. Baby, who done died on this show so far? Ain't nobody died. His wife died in childbirth. We ain't get to see the crab feeder die. Am I forgetting anybody, y'all? Who done died? We ain't had no great deaths. So Hightower walks into the room. Viserys is in there, and he says 5 days. Yo, when he said 5 days, I'm thinking 5 days to pack your shit and get out. 5 days that you're gonna be in the middle of town burning to death. I'm just like, 5 days that I'm gonna let my dragon feast on you. 5 days, what? So Viserys goes into a story about how his father was a healthy warrior and dragon rider, and how at the peak of his abilities, Jaharis had a great royal hunt to celebrate Viserys' dad being named as Hand of the King. And 5 days later, his dad was dead. And how Balon, the brave rider, heir to the Iron Throne, dead of a burst belly. And Hightower was like, it was a grim day. And Viserys says, well, it was a good day for you because Jaehaerys ended up naming you as Hand instead. And I feel like it was the first time I saw Hightower sweat. And I was sitting like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me you accusing him of killing your daddy? Like, that's what I was trying to gather from this. I was like, hold on now. So Viserys ends up going on, and he's like, just 5 days, and Hightower went from being just another man in Jahara's court to the second most powerful man in the realm. And he says, I wonder how long it took you to choose yourself over your king. And I'm sitting here like, so wait, are you saying he killed your dad or not? Like, did he kill your dad to get that seat, or are you saying he got corrupted after getting the seat? So then Viserys goes into how he will never recover from his first wife's death, but how Alicent took him through the worst of his grief, and she was a calculated distraction, and he is only now realizing how well calculated it was. And I'm sitting like, finally you open your motherfucking eyes. But Hightower, of course, is going on about that's an absurdity. The queen loves you. I know you love her. And I was let down. Viserys just says your interests no longer align with the realm. Your judgment has been compromised. And he fired him. And I'm just like, wait, that's all we gonna do? Hightower says he's a loyal hand, and a loyal hand has to tell a king uncomfortable truths. Viserys reaches over and removes his little clip, you know, that little symbol that says you the hand, and says, I can no longer trust your judgment. And I'm just like, that's it? He just gonna get fired? He still can manipulate and still do everything he was already doing because his daughter is the queen. All you gonna do is fight. Baby, we need to kill him. I would have to just go to my wife like, sorry, baby, I had to kill your daddy. I'm so disappointed with this. But I guess, I don't know, they want Hightower character to continue. They don't want to kill him off. I don't know, but I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that Hightower ain't dead. Because I stand by what I said in my last episode. Hightower will win. Hightower will get exactly what he wanted. He may not be the hand, but he is still in a position of power because his daughter is the queen and she's his puppet and she gonna do whatever her daddy tell her to do. Period. Aegon gonna be king, just like Hightower wants. Like, I'm already foreseeing it. Because this ain't Game of Thrones, but this is the world of Game of Thrones, and evil always wins. And he ain't killed Hightower. He's still gonna be doing his little ditty and manipulating everything as he always does. He just lost his job, that's it. So we end up seeing Rhaenyra in her room, and the council doctor, who I've been peeped and said that I don't trust, comes in to bring her a tea, the Plan B tea. And he tells her it's from the king to rid her of any unwanted consequences. And I'm just thinking, first of all, I don't trust him. Can we trust his tea? Because he talked about how it has to be brewed a certain way. But then I was also thinking, well, if you drink it, is that going to be admitting guilt? Because if I ain't do nothing, why I need a Plan B? I feel like I would have just drank it and lied and said I poured it down the sink because I ain't need it. But I don't trust this doctor. But I'm not sure what's about to happen. Obviously, she ain't finna die if she drink it, because there's still more of her in the story, but I don't trust this doctor. Now, when we got to inside the episode, I got some really good insight on Damian, Hightower, and Alicent. And I need to start watching these inside episodes. This is the first one I saw. Now, they talk about how at the top of the episode, it is our first time seeing Damian since the whole thing with the crab feeder. It's our first time seeing him in the throne room since he got banished the first time, child. Remember when he stole the dang egg? And they're the filmmakers or TV show creators are talking about how they wanted him to come back. Damian seemingly changed. Like he's a changed man, but then having what he turns out to be exactly the same as he was before and continue his unpredictable nature. And I guess that's how Rhaenyra was looking at it when she said, you know, like he seemed changed, so I guess she fell for his spell. And they went into how he came back looking to get back at his brother. And I'm just like, oh Lord, why didn't I see this? Like, I just been thinking, oh no, he loves his family. He's not what everyone says. He's just a rebel, but no, he was here to get back on his brother, y'all. And I did not peep that. I was under his spell, I guess. Because I've been all about Hightower and the council doctor and them being shady, but y'all, Damian a snake too. Now, they go on into how they wanted all of this to go down, where Rhaenyra wasn't innocent in the situation, but she was not the perpetrator of the situation. And they go into what I was speaking about earlier with how all of it went down, how they had a female director to do all of this. and that basically the motives behind the character is that Damien was using Rhaenyra as a way to get back at her father, and he becomes impotent in the scene and can't even go through with the plan because for him, he thought that this would be shocking for Rhaenyra, but she ended up getting excited and being into it, and he becomes impotent because he can't handle, he isn't in control of the situation. So it just made me look at Damien different because I still love Damien, that's still my fave, but he a snake. And I didn't want to accept that he a snake or that he was trying to get back on his brother or that he would do anything terrible against his brother. Because when Viserys, when I say he, I mean Viserys, when Viserys fires Hightower, my first thought was, baby, make Damien the king. I mean, the hand of the king. Because remember earlier when Damien wanted to be the hand of the king, but nah, baby, that's a bad idea. You're going to get rid of one snake and get another. Now, I can't stand Hightower, but they had the actor and they were talking about the motive and stuff behind the character, and they were saying how in Hightower's mind, he gets this amazing thing dropped into his lap that he can use to ruin Rhaenyra and ensure that Aegon will be named heir and ascend the throne, which we can already gather, but how Hightower is actually struggling and wishing that anyone else can deliver this news except for him because he really does love Viserys and knows that this information can destroy him, right? And I really didn't peep that. I still kind of feel like, no, man, he just evil. But that's the motive behind the character. He does have his self-interest. He does want his grandson to be heir. But at the same time, he does have a genuine love for Viserys. And he was not happy. He was happy to have the news and ensure Aegon on the throne and as heir. But he was not happy to hurt Viserys. And they go into how he gets this news thinking that it's going to be productive for him. But it ends up that the information has repercussions for everybody, for multiple people. And that it won't just be Damien that is affected by it. This really was a situation where he pretty much was like a kid on Christmas. He thought he had something so great that would really ensure Aegon, but it ended up having a ripple effect that really affected a lot that was going on and affected him to the point that he lost his, I don't even know if he loses his place, like his statue, but he loses his title as Hand of the King. And we hear from the actor playing Hightower how the interpretation for the scene with him and Viserys is that Viserys is so incensed, enraged, and in denial about the news that Hightower is giving him that he ends up blaming Hightower. Now, I wouldn't say he blamed him or anything without merit. That's what the actor was saying. But I think it was warranted. Like, you bringing me this, and I know you're bringing it to me for your own gain or interest or to hurt my daughter. Now, he ends up saying how Viserys, from this incident, now knows that his hand has been corrupted and that Rhaenyra may have done some things that she shouldn't have done, but that if there was no one following her, it would not have been information to be seen and to be reported. So it's not a situation of, and I was confused, like, why Viserys keeps saying he served him loyally? No, he didn't. He a snake. But no, he does feel like Hightower served him loyally, but now that his grandson is in line, he is now feeling like his judgment is corrupted now because he's putting that interest over Viserys' daughter. Now, they end up telling us that what Viserys feels the most is manipulated. And I found that really interesting because really everyone manipulates Viserys, in my opinion. I've said that since the beginning. And I'm really interested to see if there will be a moment where he finally stands up and, I want to say, finally makes a decision on his own, because no decision so far has been a decision that was not manipulated. Even him finally turning around on Hightower and telling him to get out, Rhaenyra had to tell him to do that. He did kind of go at Hightower and was upset, blaming him, as they said in inside the episode, but he was still his hand until Rhaenyra said, you need to do something about him. So I have yet to see Viserys make a decision solely on his own with no outside influence. Now, they end up going into Allison's character and how Allison has been put in a situation where she has this situation of hearing her father say these horrible things about Rhaenyra, and that hearing her dad with this leaves Allison feeling broken and feeling disappointed in her father. And I think that character motivation goes into the anger that we saw from her and the frustration and the disappointment that we saw from her in her scene with Rhaenyra. I think it was a mix of being disappointed, like they said, in her father speaking these things about Rhaenyra, and how it's not Allison's fault that she had to marry Rhaenyra's dad and inadvertently ruin their friendship. And I was mad at Allison, but they made a good point in the stuff that was said about her character. Her dad told her to marry him, so you know what? It wasn't her fault that she married her friend's dad and ruined their friendship. And it was really interesting when they went into how both Rhaenyra and Allison both become political operators. They're both in a position where their dads say, marry this person for political reason, and they both do it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm tired. I need to log in for work, child. But I was so excited, and I know that last week's video was super late. And I know how I am when I watch people on YouTube, and I'm like, come on now, baby, what is the video? I'm ready to hear what you got to say. So I appreciate everyone who supports my channel, who wants to hear my reaction to the episodes and everything that I'm posting. So I hope you enjoyed getting this video sooner than I would normally put it out. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.